To whom this may concern, my name is Liseth Espino, and I am a part of the Symbiosis team, which consists of Laura Boskin, Nadia Boskin, and Declan Farrar, and under the mentoring of Jennifer Castilleja, Mark Raw, and Jeremy Selko. Today, we are virtually here to provide a presentation over our submittal for the annual Waller Creek Light Show that will take place this upcoming fall. You may be wondering why our team name is Symbiosis, however. We decided to name our proposal as such based on the symbiotic relationship between us and nature, considering we are dependent on nature as nature is dependent on us.
The Waller Creek Light Show is an annual show that lets local artists put their designs on display for the public. These installations can highlight a number of local and global issues. As for our design, we decided to highlight an issue of climate change in our community. Our design consists of LED lights in a vein-like pattern up a tree. On the other side of the tree, across the creek, there are 4 button podiums to control the LED light strands. As a team, we wanted to design a light installment for the Waller Creek Light Show that would spread awareness of something we care about and that affects us deeply. We decided to choose climate change. Climate change is not only something that affects the world on an international level, but on a local level. The Bastrop wildfire destroyed more than 32,000 acres of land. Thousands of families were forced to relocate. The Austin area alone is overdue for a wildfire because of the water-deprived land. We hope that our light installation will bring awareness to the situation. Here are our initial phase photo sketches of our design. With none of the buttons being pressed, the tree glows red to represent fire, a symbol of climate change unchanged. When one of the buttons is pressed, a small strand of LED light glows blue. This represents an individual's efforts to stop climate change. When 2 of the buttons are pressed, the blue glow grows slightly more. This represents the efforts of a few people trying to stop or prevent climate change.
Phase 4 consists of 3 out of the 4 buttons being pressed down. This specific phase represents how a growing group of people can have an impact on climate change, much less have an input. Last but not least, Phase 5 consists of all 4 buttons being pressed. All 4 buttons being pressed represents the remedying of climate change after we the people come together. In this phase, all 4 buttons will be occupied, and the lighting of the installation will now turn to a light blue and to represent the opposite of the burning red as in phase 5.
Our constraints consist of our $20,000 budget, which includes labor fees and our construction materials. The area must be family friendly and child safe. The arborists have a list of rules that we have to abide by, which include if we can hang anything on the trees. We are not given a source of energy and we are not allowed to use a power generator. So that is something we have to acquire from a nearby facility. We have 1 week to assemble our design and we have to consider the weather and flooding. This is an alternate design if the constraints affect our original decision. It consists of wood and concrete, which can later be recycled through the City of Austin's recycling program.
If selected to design a piece in the Waller Creek Light Show, your team is allotted $20,000 to build your design, $5,000 of which is an honorarium for your team members. Sponsorships from outside sources are also allowed. Because we don't know if the arborist will let us hang lights from trees, we had to come up with 2 different materials lists. For our first design, we will use an existing tree, VersiColor LED flexible string lights, power, podiums, and buttons. For our second design, we will use the existing tree, an exterior Projection 500 fully weatherized outdoor LED high contrast animation projector, power, podiums, and buttons. These are our final phase photos for our design using a real tree from Waller Creek. Phase 1 shows the tree when no buttons are pressed. Phase 2 shows the tree when 1 button is pressed. Phase 3 when 2 buttons are pressed. And Phase 4 when 3 buttons are pressed. And finally, Phase 5. When all the buttons are pressed, the tree will flash with green and blue, representing the symbiotic relationship between us and the Earth, to show that we need the help of the whole community if we're going to fight climate change.
To kick off our schedule, our submission to the Waller Creek Light Show is essential for there to be a project. This is where we discuss what our submission consists of, what message do we intend to come across to the audience, what is the installation going to physically look like, how it's going to be built, etc. If chosen to be a part of the light show, and once our design is discussed and we are prompted to move forth with the installation, our next step consists of consulting with an arborist, a person who specializes in trees and the care for them, to ensure our installation is possible with a natural physical tree without undue harm towards the environment. The consultation with the arborist is essentially what determines our next step. It is after consulting with an arborist about mounting lights to the tree where we will determine what kind of lighting we will use for our installation. This decision can either lead into two pathways. We could either go with projector lighting or string lighting. Projector lighting requires consulting nearby businesses about power usage. This is to provide power to our whole installation. After that, we would have to set up contrast projectors at the base of the tree. Following that will be the setup for the podiums and the buttons across the river and wire the lights towards the tree. This will also occur off the path so that traffic congestion can be avoided. Last but not least, program our animated light patterns into the projectors. This once again is for the projector lighting. On the other hand, the string lighting consists of consulting once again nearby businesses about power usage, considering we won't have power at the creek itself. Up next is the hanging of the LED string lights up the tree, showing a vein-like pattern. After that, wire string lights to podiums and buttons across the river. This will also require the programming, which will happen after, to program our desired colors into the LED string lights.
As the artist, we have no say in the overall transportation routes. However, we do have control over foot transportation around our design. The Waller Creek Light Show is on a path next to the Waller Creek. To control traffic flow, we decided to put the button podiums off to the side of the trail. By keeping it to the side of the trail, we are limiting conjunction, keeping the crowds moving. If we did have a say in the overall transportation routes, we would designate a part of the Red River Street for a drop-off area.
Thank you for listening to our presentation. We hope that we have brought awareness of climate change in our community. Together we can influence climate change.